NBA with the NBA Pulse. Again, don't forget to use that hashtag, Coach SF Show, for live Twitter interaction. Hopefully we're having a lot of live tweets coming on during our show. I encourage you guys out there watching our show tonight to please send in your tweets if you're on Twitter, and don't forget to send in those selfies of you watching the Coach Scott Field Show. We're having a great time tonight. Real quick, I want to give some NBA scores and updates right here before we bring Corbin Barnett on. We got the Sacramento Kings 124-86 over the New York Knicks. I got the Lakers 103 losing to the Hornets 104. And hey, how about Michael Jordan being added to the billionaires list on Forbes magazine? Way to go, MJ. Hanes Underwear is doing you good. Got the Cleveland Cavaliers 110-79 over the Boston Celtics. The Atlanta Hawks still on fire out there on the East. 100-96 over the Houston Rockets. The Washington Wizards are getting beat by the Chicago Bulls. Even though Jimmy Butler's injury and he's gone down, the Bulls are still competing and being competitive out there. Your Utah Jazz right here are beating the Memphis Grizzlies 67-63. And also Brian Shaw's Denver Nuggets, or former Denver Nuggets, are losing tonight to the Milwaukee Bucks 38-34. So we got a lot of scores and updates going on. I am thrilled to have a former player of mine join us live tonight on the Coach Scott Field Show. He hails from Emery County. He was out there at Castledale, Utah. My friend, Corbin Barnett. Corbin, can you hear me, my friend?
Yes, sir, I can.
Corbin, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Doing pretty great, Coach. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Hey, how much snow did you get down there today?
Only about an inch or so. It was probably gone by noon, so it wasn't too bad.
Okay, so you just got a little flash. So it probably messed up your spring fishing, though, didn't it?
Oh, you know it. It was too cold.
Well, Corbin, introduce yourself to the viewers. Let the viewers know how you and I became acquainted. And then, let's just talk basketball. Let's talk life. Let's talk about some of the things that you are currently enduring. I think you've got an inspirational story, and there's a lot of people that will not only be inspired, but will be empowered and will grow from your journey. So, Corbin, let's talk a little bit about it. How did you and I meet, my friend?
Well, we met, this was my junior year of high school. I was affiliated with Tim Davis, and he told me that there was a tryout going on with Thurl Bailey and someone named Scott Fields, and then he wanted me to go, and so I ended up going to that tryout, and I thought I blew that tryout because within the first 10 minutes we were warming up, I rolled my ankle, and so I thought I was totally not going to make it, and that's kind of where my journey started. Got through, pushed through that tryout, and luckily, on the drive home to Emery County, about a 2-hour drive, we just got out of the canyon where I'd have service, and I got a call saying I'd made the team, and I was just shocked beyond belief that I made that team. And I remember that was the first time we met, and that's where our story just kind of began.
Well, you better believe it. And I want to backtrack and, again, share the sacrifice that you were making to come be a part of an AAU team to do some travel ball, which was a new experience for you. Playing against higher level athletes, a higher skill set of individuals that you were used to performing against there in Emery County. The fact that, you would drive 2 hours one way to come to our weekly practices in preparations for tournaments, down in Vegas or Long Beach. I was impressed with, your work ethic, your fortitude. I was inspired by that. And I know you rolled your ankle, but I saw a lot of things in you that I thought were positive for you to be a strength to the team. Our team was being put together late, and yes, Thurl Bailey was, a main force behind that team. And the only reason I took that team was because of Thurl Bailey's involvement, because he's so well respected, and thank the world of him. But it also gave me an opportunity to bond and work with our adopted son, Brandon Sly. But Corbin, talk a little bit about your high school background, your career at Emery, some of the challenges that you faced there, and talk about the differences about playing, for myself and our travel team.
All right, so I always played basketball, junior high, high school. And I had older brothers that had always played. We had a family number 44. And so got into high school, wasn't the best athlete, but I would always try to do my best. I saw a little varsity time my junior year. Senior year was all right, worked hard, ended up getting pneumonia during that season, so kind of was a putback during that season. But came back to have a state championship game that was probably my best game of the year. Wasn't the highest scorer, probably something I was able to do was probably a big key on defense. I'm a solid foundation person, so I was able to kind of keep people out of there from scoring.
Right, right. Now talk about what it was like coming in, and some of the other members on that team at that time. I think we had Cam Bailey and some other good size and some athletes. We had the big gentleman from Murray. And what were your feelings and emotions as you looked around the gym and seen some of the talent that you were now competing against and playing with during that tryout?
Well, first off, I was super excited to be around people that were actually taller than me. That was an experience I was not used to.
Yeah.
But I was extremely intimidated those first few practices because their skill set was beyond what I imagined could happen at a high school level, and it just kind of gave me more of a desire to push through things and work harder because knowing they were so much further than I was in ball, it just gave me more of a drive to keep pushing harder and to kind of play the game smarter because I knew I didn't have all the skills they did. So if I remember noticing some little things that kind of would push their buttons or throw their game off, so I tried to do those things to kind of learn how to play the game smarter even though I didn't have all the skill they did.
Okay, let's talk about that because you talked about being smarter. You were always very cerebral. You are not only cerebral on the court, but you are also a quality student. When you graduated, I know I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but what was your GPA as you graduated from high school?
I was a 3.99.
What? Not a 4.0? Shame on you.
No, 1 A- because I missed one day of class for math and I missed a quiz, threw it off. So.
All right. Well, now talk about some of the honors and accolades that came with that. In high school. I mean, I think I remember seeing a picture posted with you with one of the congressmen, Jason Chaffetz there. Talk a little bit about, some of the honors that you received academically.
So in high school, I always wanted to push myself to be the smartest I could. It goes back to competition with my brothers. They were all pretty smart, all pretty athletic, so I always wanted to push myself and do things they hadn't before. So I made a goal in my 9th grade year to become a Sterling Scholar as a senior. So I worked really hard, and I became the foreign language Sterling Scholar for Emory High School. And with that, I had a lot of opportunities. I went to North Carolina and stayed with my brother and helped with some Burmese political refugees. I was able to, through that service, I was able to meet Congressman Chaffetz for a community service award. And I went to that competition and got 2nd place, and that gave me a 4-year full tuition scholarship to Utah Valley University.
Outstanding. And I'm going to tell you what, a lot of people talk about, honors and accolades that can happen, on the court, but, you are an epitome of what a student athlete is all about. You knew the priority was student. You had some family members that were successful, in athletics, and I'm sure, what lessons did you learn from your brothers, with some of their athletic skills?
Well, I have a brother that he was actually in the MLB for quite a while. He was, I believe, in a AAA team for Tampa Bay, and his dedication was amazing. He would always focus so hard on what he was doing. He was actually a pitcher, and he threw himself 100% into his work, and he really focused on having every part of his body to the point where he could perform to the top of his ability. And then I also had another brother that played for a college in Wyoming in basketball, and oh my goodness, his veracity was insane. He always was willing to fight, dive after the ball. He was always pushing himself to the next level because he was always willing to fight for what was in front of him.
Well, I love the fact that, you were learning from your brothers, and it's exciting because we've got a set of twins coming on our third segment from West High School that are also outstanding student athletes and had a great career there at West High School. So I'm glad to hear you say that you've learned from them, but you've also got a great support system in your mom and dad who, we've become great friends. Tell us a little bit about your mom and dad and some of the things, where they've helped you and the things that you've learned from them.
Well, my mom and dad are for sure my best friends out there. I was the youngest child, so my senior and junior year, we call ourselves the Three Amigos. Just always had fun with that. I found that the support system came through that friendship. I was able to go with them with my frustrations, and they would just listen. And if I needed correcting, if I was just totally being a little snot about something, they were willing to put me in my place and say, hey, you know what, look at it this way and do your work. And that helped me so much because there were times when things were just hard with ball, like I was on a high school team, a traveling team, and trying to keep my grades up, and I just didn't want to do things sometimes. I just wanted to lay down and take a nap or something, but they reminded me I made those commitments, and once you make a commitment, you do 150% to keep that commitment.
Love it. Great nuggets right there, and thank the world of your family. Just great people. Now, we'll fast forward here a little bit again. You made our team, and we got into some travel, and then you were exposed to a whole nother level of athletes. And I can remember playing against a team in Arizona, and they had a gentleman that came down on a fast break, and you kind of came in front of him, and of course, he took off and dunked. And I remember during the timeout, you're like, Coach, I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about some of those experiences playing against teams from outside of the state.
Well, oh my goodness, that natural talent. I've never been one that can jump real high. And just seeing some guys where they can get their forehead or their head above the rim just blew my mind. And just seeing how well people could post up and how well they moved and functioned as a team was something I really thought was cool. And they would pass the ball when no one was there, but a person would know what was happening and would be there to catch it. Just knowing how everyone thought and functioned at a higher level was amazing to me.
Well, it was great stuff. We've got about a minute before we go on break here, but talk about real quickly, what were some of the things that you noticed from me as a coach? What's the first thing, your first impression of me and my coaching? So you've got about a minute before we go to break here. What was one thing that stood out to you?
How positive you were. I mean, I came from a coach that wasn't really positive, more negative, and you were just so positive. You built us up as a team, and when we were struggling, you weren't condescending to us. You built us up, and you helped us realize what we could do when we were positive and worked together as a team. And so you built us by building us up instead of tearing us down. It helped me as a person realize you can be positive in any situation. You can still build and become a stronger person.
Well, I appreciate your kind words. I'll make sure I put a check in the mail to you because that's awful humbling, and I thank you for that. But, hey, we've got about 30 seconds here. Is there anything else, within 30 seconds that you want to share before we go to break? And we're going to have you come back after the break and share a little bit more about your personal journey and some things that you're experiencing now.
Well, quick thing to share is just be grateful for those people in your life. You might not see it right now, but there's always going to be a time you're going to look back and you're going to be super grateful for those people in your life.
Wow, Corbin, I love it. Great nuggets right there. We're about ready to go off on a break. I want you to stay on the line. We're going to be back in 2 minutes after this break, and we're going to continue our segment before segment 3 with our twins from West High School joining the Coach Scott Field Show. We'll be right back.
Coach Scott Field Show, brought to you by Brave Haven Media, media with a pulse. Don't forget to call Kim Fields at Salon Dante in Sandy, Utah, 801-572-8812. We'd also like to thank the NFL Store and the NBA Store, affiliate sponsors of the Coach Scott Fields Show. Check out all of our affiliate sponsors at www.coachscottfields.com. Be sure to make your appointment with 9th Avenue Dental. Dr. Chris Tarbert will put a smile on your face. And now, back to the Coach Scott Fields Show.
All right, we're back live with Corbin Barnett out of Castledale, Utah, and we're talking about his experiences. We're talking about his journey. Now, let's get into your senior year. We had an outstanding year with the AAU travel team. We had some success. We weren't always the most athletic. We weren't the most talented, but we had success with those teams, correct, Corbin?
That's right. We kind of blew the mind of some of those teams.
We really did, and if you can remember, we'd sit there during the timeouts and say, okay, guys, let's just watch. They're going to implode, and they're going to start pointing fingers at each other. We're going to stay together. We're going to execute offensively. We're going to be smart, defensively. We're going to communicate, and we always found a way to persevere, and it was an outstanding group of kids to work with, and it was just a great experience for me to share that time with you, and we did have success, in California and also going to Vegas. But I remember one time where there was a fatal accident in front of us. We're stuck there in traffic. We get out of the van, and Coach Charlie brings out the kettlebells, and we're out there doing workouts under the stars right there on I-15 heading south, huh?
I remember that. I remember Sunday Oda, he would just close his eyes, and he kept popping up and scaring everybody.
Sushi, that's another West High School standout who's doing a good job as a freshman out there in Wyoming. And I had a nice conversation with him Saturday night. So Sunday, there's a quick little shout out for you there, my man. Great story right there, Corbin. All right, so let's talk about now. Corbin, kind of more of serious content. You go off to your mission. Share with the viewers where you took your mission to.
So the first part of my mission was in Cape Verde. It's a country it's about 400 miles off the west coast of Africa. If you know where Sierra Leone is, you draw a straight line out, and there's going to be 10 little islands called Cape Verde. It was originally settled by some black immigrants that made it over from Africa, but then later the Portuguese came in and kind of took over, and it was one of the original places where slave trade actually started in the world.
Well, I feel like I'm getting a history lesson right here live on the Coach Scott Fields Show. Bring it, man. I feel the knowledge. Go ahead. So now you're off on your mission, and you started noticing some changes, and you were starting to have some pain. Share with the viewers what you were experiencing, what you were going through, what you felt, physically and mentally and spiritually. What was going on, and kind of put our viewers in that position, what you were going through, my friend.
So where I was, it was a walking mission, so I was walking quite a lot every day. And so on a particular day, me and my companion, the elder I was with, we were hiking the mountains, looking for some people to talk to, and we'd been hiking probably the majority of the day. And at the end of the day, before we had to hike back down to the main kind of city where we could get a ride back to the village where we were living at, I was standing there, and my companion looks at me. He was this 5-foot Mozambican, and he just looks at my legs, and he starts pointing and kind of rattling off rapid things in Portuguese, and I was really new to the language, so I didn't know what he was saying, and I looked down, and both of my legs were shaking uncontrollably. And so this is kind of where everything started to go downhill for me. I just kind of pushed it off. I'm like, oh, my legs are just tired. From that point, my feet would actually start to hurt. My ankles would give out while walking the cobblestone streets, and I'd sprain my ankles, which I was used to, and fall down, but just get up. And so I didn't really care. I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep walking. So as time went on, it started to get worse. The pain started to get so bad I couldn't sleep at night. I stopped eating because I was in so much pain, and so I was taking all the ibuprofen I could, but wasn't doing anything anymore. So what happened, they sent me to the main island where everyone else was at, and I was there for a little while and talked to a doctor, and they were concerned I was getting MS, and so they shipped me home from Cape Verde to the U.S. really quickly. Mentally and spiritually, for me, this was extremely tough. I mean, my entire life as an LDS youth, I had wanted to go on a 2-year mission, and this all happened within a month and a half. I was there. Next thing you know, I was sent to the main island, and then I was being sent home. So for me, this was catastrophic. I did not know what to do with my life because what I'd planned on was now kind of blown to smithereens.
Right. So now you're back in the States. You're struggling physically. Of course, you're frustrated. You're upset because you're not able to complete your mission. So now take us to, the doctoring, what the diagnosis was, what the prognosis was, and share with us what that did to you personally and where you're at now.
So when I first got home, we went to a doctor, and basically that doctor said, everyone has foot pain or something and discomfort. You just need to learn to live with it in your life.
Wow.
So that, to me, was very devastating to be told, you're just whining about some foot pain.
Yeah.
So for me, mentally, that kind of set me back quite a bit because I'm like, am I just not good enough? I'm not strong enough. Is everything I've worked for, have I not done my full effort? But as time went on, went to a few other doctors, they couldn't find anything. And then one day, this random blood test showed up on my doorstep, and went over, took it. They said it would take like a month or two to find out what was going on. But in the time, I rested up, got healthy again, started eating, got healthy, and the pain was back to nothing. I was like, it just feels like if I had a big day, it just felt like a day after like a hard basketball game. So I thought I was fine. I actually went out on a second part of my mission to California in Rancho Cucamonga, and I was there. But then on Christmas, I found out from my family, because that was the time they could Skype me and let me know, I'd been diagnosed with a disease called Charcot-Marie tooth. And so we kind of feared this like a long time ago when I was probably in junior high. I was growing so much. I had a lot of foot pain. They attributed it to just growing pains, but actually it was the disease that was manifesting itself.
Okay, so now you get hit with your diagnosis, but at least it kind of lets you know what you're dealing with. Tell us, and let's educate our viewers and the listeners who are going to watch this nationally and internationally, what exactly is that disease and what is the prognosis of a disease such as that?
So what it is, it's a hereditary neuropathy, and there's a lot of different types. Like I don't know all of them. There's like 1A and 2A, and it ranges for quite a few many types. But basically what it can cause, it causes chronic pain. It can be a neuropathy pain, or it can just be a kind of inexplicable pain. I've got one of those pains where you just keep walking. It's kind of like you could say it's like a growing pain, like when you strain a muscle or a joint and it just begins to throb and everything. So what they usually do, they usually try to get you on some medications to try to help ease that pain. So I was started on a low dose of what I was allowed to on my mission. And so basically it's a disease they have no cure for. It's something a lot more people are affected with, but they just don't know about it because they just think it's regular foot pain and those kind of things. So with prognosis and everything, I have custom-made insoles that are just built exactly for my feet, and I go see them every few months, and they adjust my insoles to try to help my pain. And so I was doing everything I could, but unfortunately that pain while I was out there just kept growing and growing, because the disease also can be affected by emotions because it's a nerve disease. So when you're stressed and everything, it can actually flare the disease, causing more pain and more sickness.
Right. So now, of course, your athletic career has ended because of the disease. Your mission was pretty much ended because of the disease. What types of things, what were you doing for the therapy end of it, as far as not so much mental therapy, but to keep the disease controlled so that you could have some sort of quality of life? What were you doing, and how was there a lot of doctoring? Was there a lot of tests? Was there a lot of blood work? Share with us, take us through the day in a life of Corbin Barnett and the pain that you're enduring.
Well, just a little background. When I came home from that second part of the mission, got into a specialist, and we tried some other medications, and then those heavier medications weren't doing anything. They were just giving adverse effects and everything. And then they said, all right, we're going to recommend that you go to morphines and heavier medications. And at the time I was 19, and I felt I was too young to be put on such heavy medications, and so did my parents. Yeah. So we had to kind of step back and try to take a look at everything from a new angle. Something for this disease, the best thing you can do to slow it down is to be physically healthy. Yeah. So what I've done is I have a personal trainer actually at Vasa who you mentioned earlier, that he does amazing things with me. And something I had to do, I had to go to the gym every single day. And so my trainer actually knows a little bit about the disease, so he's designed some workouts for me that don't have me on my feet too much, so I can build muscle and not have it break down. Because with the disease also, if you work your muscles too much, they'll break down and they will not grow back or regenerate. But also if you don't work out, they'll break down and not regenerate. So you have to kind of walk that fine line.
Right.
So and with that, I don't know, just a day probably. I'm in college, a full-time college student, so some days it depends. I might wake up with pain in the morning, just a throbbing, and I just got to push through it. I pace myself walking on the school. I've had a lot of accommodations that help me out. Don't have to walk as far. There we have elevators, which are good, but sometimes by the end of the day, if I've been on my feet too much, I actually can't focus. I lose focus. I don't have a desire to eat, and I just get so drained to the point I just have to sleep until I recuperate from that pain and I can function fully again.
Right. Well, I'm gonna tell you what, it's an inspiring story and journey that you're sharing with us. It's going to be empowering to individuals who may be suffering through some sort of physical ailment that they don't know what's going on. You and I share something in common. When I was 18, I was given an oral polio vaccine to accept my scholarship in North Carolina, and that oral polio vaccine caused my immune system to go awry, which ended my playing career, and I was bedfast for 9 months. So, it is devastating. It is, you have all these thoughts, why me? I'm a good person. Why am I being challenged with this? But I can assure you that, you have that same type of personality. You're a go-getter. You're not a quitter. You persevere. And I know you're going through pain daily, and I thank you for sharing your story and journey with us. I know you're taking classes at UVU right now. I know you're going to be a success in whatever endeavor that you pursue. I'm a better person for knowing you and being able to be around you. And I thank you for sharing your story tonight. If you had any insight or encouragement to viewers out there who may be suffering through something like this, what would your message be to the viewers out there tonight, Corbin?
Honestly, to not give up, because if you stop fighting, that's when you lose hope. I mean, no matter what happens, no matter how much pain you're in, you need to keep fighting, and you need to have a good support system behind you and to kind of keep the faith and just know that you're going to be able to help so many other people in your life later in life, because you know what, you've gone through this and someone might go through a similar thing and they're going to get down in the dumps, and you're going to be able to be there and help support someone and help them fulfill a dream they may have.
You know what, I think that is so eloquently put, and I appreciate you sharing that vulnerability. You've got a great story, my friend, and the fact that you had the courage to come on and share your story with our viewers tonight, I commend you for that. You're an outstanding person, a great individual. You are blessed to have a wonderful support system, and I know that you will beat this disease. I know you will keep it controlled. You're going to keep your faith, and you're going to be a success. And if there's anything that I can ever do for you, my friend, I please just know that I am a phone call away, and we can share our journeys together, and I know whatever you choose to do, my friend, you're going to blow it up and do great things. So thank you so much for being a part of our show tonight, Corbin.
Thank you for allowing me, Coach.
You got it. Listen, have a great night. We're going to have another quick break, and we're going to have the twins come on here from West High School live on the Coach Scott Field Show. So get that Twitter action going. Hashtag Coach SF Show. Let those twins know you're watching them.